Captain Deho stood in front of the massive holographic display that showed Zone 7. The space around him buzzed with nervous energy as dozens of alien species watched from their seats in the Galactic Council chamber. The zone looked like a twisted knot of purple and black energy spinning slowly in the darkness of space. "You want to go in there alone?" asked Counselor Thalves, her blue crystalline body flickering with what humans had learned meant confusion. "Without any backup ships? Without emergency protocols? Without even a communication link?" Deho nodded calmly. He was a tall man, with short black hair and calm eyes that had seen many strange things in his years of space travel. "That's correct, Counselor. Just me and my ship." The chamber erupted in sounds that no human throat could make. The Velkari clicked and chimed in distress. The Technari made deep rumbling sounds that shook the floor. The Zephyrians' feathers stood on end as they whistled in alarm. Kiwan, the human liaison, stood up from his seat. He was younger than Deho, with kind eyes and a patient smile that he had learned to use when dealing with worried aliens. "Honorable Council members, please allow me to explain." "Explain what?" shouted the Theknari representative, his rocky hide turning a darker shade of brown. "How this human plans to survive what killed our last 3 exploration teams." Kiwan walked to the center of the chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. "Captain Deho has studied Zone 7 for 2 years. He believes he can solve the problem, but only if he goes alone." "This makes no sense," said the Zephyrian delegate, her silver feathers ruffling. "More help means better chances of survival. This is basic logic." "For most species, yes," Kiwan said carefully. "But humans work differently." Counselor Thalves leaned forward, her crystalline face catching the light from the holographic display. "Different how? Your species is not stronger than ours. You are not smarter than the Velkari. Your technology is not better than the Theknari designs. What makes you special?" Deho stepped forward. "May I tell you about Zone 12? The chamber fell silent. Zone 12 was a name that made even the bravest alien explorers nervous. 3 years ago, your joint expedition to Zone 12 had 40 ships, 500 crew members, and the best equipment in the galaxy," Deho said. "They all died within 6 hours." The aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone remembered that disaster. 2 weeks later, a human named Haijin went into Zone 12 alone in a tiny ship with basic supplies. Deho continued. "She came out 7 days later. The zone was completely safe after that. Your scientists have been studying it ever since." "That was luck," the Technari representative grumbled, but his voice lacked confidence. "Was it?" Kiwan asked. "What about Zone 3? Your massive expedition failed. 1 human succeeded. Zone 15? Same story. Zone 8? Also the same." Counselor Thalves's blue light dimmed as she thought. "Are you saying humans have some kind of special power?" "No," Deho said. "We just think differently when we're alone." The Velkari delegate made a series of musical notes that the translator turned into words. "This is impossible. Isolation makes species weaker, not stronger. It is against all natural law." Kiwan smiled. "Counselor, with respect, human behavior often seems to go against natural law." "Explain this to us," Thalves demanded. "Make us understand." Kiwan thought for a moment. "When humans have backup, we follow rules. We use proper procedures. We do what we're supposed to do. But when we're alone and facing something impossible, Something changes in our minds. Changes how? Asked the Zephyrian delegate. We stop thinking about what we should do and start thinking about what we can do, Deho said. We stop following the book and start writing a new one. The Technari representative made a sound like grinding stone. This sounds like madness. Maybe it is, Kiwan admitted, but it works. Counselor Thalves was quiet for a long time. The other aliens waited, watching her crystalline form pulse with slow, thoughtful light. Finally, she spoke. "Show us your plan for Zone 7. Deho shook his head. "I don't have one." The chamber exploded in noise again. Clicks, whistles, and rumbles filled the air as the aliens expressed their shock. "You want to enter the most dangerous zone in this sector without a plan?" Thalves asked, her voice rising higher than anyone had ever heard it go. "Plans are for situations you understand," Deho said calmly. "Zone 7 is not something anyone understands. It changes every time we look at it. It responds to our thoughts. It seems to know what we're going to do before we do it. Which is exactly why you need backup," the Velkari delegate sang in distress. "No," Kiwan said firmly. "It's exactly why he needs to go alone. When humans have backup, we think we know what we're doing. We make plans. We follow procedures. But Zone 7 defeats all plans and procedures." "So what will he do instead?" asked the Zephyrian delegate. Deho shrugged. "Whatever works." The aliens stared at him in complete confusion. The idea of going into deadly danger without any plan seemed insane to them. "You're asking us to let you commit suicide," Thalves said finally. "I'm asking you to let me do my job," Deho replied. "Humans have been solving impossible problems for thousands of years. We didn't get to the stars by following safe procedures." Kiwan nodded. "Every time humans have tried to explore restricted zones with proper backup and safety measures, we've failed. Every time we've gone alone, we've succeeded. The pattern is clear." "But why?" asked the Theknari representative. "What is it about being alone that makes you better?" "We don't know," Deho admitted. "We just know it works." Counselor Thalves dimmed to almost complete darkness as she considered this. The chamber was silent except for the quiet hum of the life support systems. "If you die in there," she said finally, "we will not send anyone to rescue you." "I wouldn't want you to," Deho said. "And if you fail, Zone 7 remains off limits forever." "Understood." "And you truly believe this insane approach will work?" Deho looked at the swirling mass of deadly energy on the display. "Counselor, I believe it's the only thing that will work." Thalves pulsed once with bright blue light, then returned to her normal glow. "Very well. Permission granted. May whatever gods watch over fools protect you, Captain Deho." As the council session ended and the aliens filed out in various states of worry and confusion, Kiwan approached Deho. "Are you really confident about this?" he asked quietly. Deho smiled. "Kiwan, confidence is a luxury. I'm just stubborn enough to try." Sora stared at the data screen in front of her, rubbing her tired eyes. She had been working for 3 days straight, going through old mission reports and files that most people had forgotten about. The coffee cup next to her keyboard had been empty for hours, but she was too focused to notice. "This can't be right," she muttered to herself, checking the numbers again. The door to her small office opened, and Kiwan walked in carrying 2 cups of fresh coffee. "Still working on the zone analysis?" "Kiwan, look at this," Sora said, accepting the coffee gratefully. I've been going through every restricted zone mission for the past 50 years. The pattern is crazy. Ki-Wan sat down in the chair across from her desk. What kind of pattern? Sora turned her screen so he could see it. Look at the success rates. When multi-species teams go into restricted zones with full safety protocols, proper backup, and emergency evacuation plans, they fail 87% of the time. That's not surprising, Ki-Wan said. The zones are dangerous. But look, at this, Sora continued, pointing to another column of data. When humans go in alone with no backup and no safety nets, they succeed 94% of the time. Ki-Wan nearly choked on his coffee. That's impossible. That's what I thought. So I checked the data 3 times. Then I had the computer check it. Then I asked the Velkari data processing team to verify it. Same result every time. Ki-Wan leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. How many solo human missions are we talking about? 37 over the past 50 years, Sora said. 35 successes, 2 failures. And both failures happened when the humans tried to maintain radio contact with base. Show me the team mission data. Sora switched screens. Here's the really weird part. Look at missions where humans were part of supervised teams. The data showed dozens of missions with careful preparation, multiple ships, safety protocols, and communication links. Almost all of them had failed. Wait, Ki-Wan said, leaning forward. Show me the Kepler station incident. Sora pulled up the file. Zone 23, 4 years ago. Joint expedition with Theknari engineers, Velkari scientists, and human technical specialists. Biggest, most carefully planned zone mission in history. Total disaster, Ki-Wan remembered. 63 casualties. But look what happened next, Sora said, switching to another file. 3 weeks later, a human maintenance worker named Dong-Su went into the zone alone to recover some equipment. I remember him. Quiet guy, worked on air recycling systems. He wasn't even an explorer, Sora said. He just needed to fix something. No backup, no communication, no special equipment. He was in there for 12 hours. And when he came out, the zone was completely stable, Ki-Wan finished. We turned it into a research station, Sora nodded. Dong-Su said he just talked to whatever was in there and asked it nicely to stop being dangerous. The alien council members are going to have a hard time believing this. It gets stranger, Sora said, pulling up more files. Look at the personality profiles of humans who succeed in solo zone missions. Ki-Wan studied the data. These people are all different. Different backgrounds, different skills, different personalities. The only thing they have in common is that they all went in alone and made it up as they went along. The office door chimed, and Hyanwu walked in. He was an older man with gray hair and scars on his hands from years of dangerous work. Most aliens found him intimidating, but Sora and Ki-Wan knew he was gentle and thoughtful. Sorry to interrupt, Hyanwu said. I heard you were researching zone missions. Mind if I help? Actually, you're perfect timing, Sora said. You've done 3 solo zone missions. Can you explain why they worked? Hyanwu sat down on the edge of the desk. Not really. Each one was completely different. Tell us about Zone 16, Ki-Wan said. That was the one with the singing crystals, Hyanwu said, smiling at the memory. The Zephyrian expedition team tried to study them with proper scientific methods. The crystals got angry and started creating sound waves that could shatter ships. How did you solve it? Sora asked. I listened to them, Hyanwu said simply. Turned out they were lonely. They'd been alone for thousands of years. And when the Zephyrians showed up with all their recording equipment, the crystals thought someone finally wanted to hear their songs. So you just listened? For 6 hours. Then I sang back. My voice is terrible, but they didn't seem to mind. Kiwan shook his head. The Zephyrians are natural musicians. They should have thought of that. The Zephyrians brought scientific instruments and proper procedures, Hyun-woo said. They were trying to study the crystals, not talk to them. What about Zone 9? Sora asked, checking her files. The one with the maze that kept changing. Hyun-woo nodded. 3 different expeditions got lost in there. Ships with advanced navigation systems, teams of expert pilots, emergency beacons, all lost. But you made it through. I stopped trying to navigate and started following my gut, Hyun-woo said. The maze wasn't random. It was testing people. When I stopped using instruments and started trusting my instincts, it let me through. That makes no sense, Kiwan said. None of it makes sense, Hyun-woo agreed. That's the point. The zones don't follow normal rules. When we bring normal solutions, we fail. When we throw out the rules and try something impossible, we succeed. Sora looked at her screen again. Hyun-woo, what happens when you know you have backup? The older man thought for a moment. You play it safe. You follow procedures. You don't take crazy risks because you know someone can rescue you if things go wrong. And when you're alone, you do whatever it takes to survive. You try things. That would seem insane if you had other options. Kiwan stood up and walked to the window that looked out at the council chambers. The aliens are never going to understand this. They don't have to understand it, Sora said. They just have to accept that it works. But why does it work? Kiwan asked, turning back to them. What is it about humans that makes this possible? Hyun-woo shrugged. Maybe we're just too stupid to know when something is impossible. Or maybe, Sora said thoughtfully, we're the only species that gets more creative when we're desperate. Most species become more careful when they're in danger, Hyun-woo added. Humans become more reckless, and sometimes reckless is exactly what you need. Kiwan looked at the data on Sora's screen again. We need to present this to the council. They need to see the pattern. They won't like it, Sora warned. It goes against everything they believe about safety and proper procedures. Then we'll have to help them understand, Kiwan said. Because if this data is right, humans might be the only species in the galaxy that can handle the really dangerous zones. Hyun-woo stood up to leave. Just remember to tell them that we don't know why it works. We just know that it does. After he left, Sora and Kiwan sat in silence, looking at the impossible data that showed humans succeeding where everyone else failed. You know what scares me most about this? Sora finally said. What? If we're the only ones who can do this, what does that say about us as a species? Kiwan didn't have an answer for that question. The council chamber was packed with alien scientists, military officials, and worried diplomats. Minji stood at the center podium, looking calm despite the tension in the room. As a human psychologist, she had spent years studying how different species thought and behaved. Today, she had to explain something that even she didn't fully understand. Counselor Thalves pulsed with slow, thoughtful blue light. Dr. Minji, we have reviewed the data that Sora provided. The pattern is clear, but the explanation is not. Help us understand why humans become more capable when isolated. Minji nodded. Honorable Counsel, what I'm about to tell you might sound strange. Human psychology is different from most species in ways that even we don't fully understand. Different. How? Asked the Technari representative, his rocky surface shifting with curiosity. Most species evolved to be safer in groups, Minji began. When you face danger, your instinct is to call for help, follow established procedures, and rely on proven methods. This is logical and effective for most situations. The Zephyrian delegate's silver feathers rustled. Of course, this is basic, survival behavior. But humans evolved differently, Minji continued. We lived in small groups on a dangerous planet. Sometimes help wasn't coming. Sometimes the proven methods didn't work. Sometimes we had to do impossible things just to survive. Are you saying humans are naturally reckless? Asked a Velkari scientist, her musical voice carrying notes of concern. Not reckless, Minji said carefully. Adaptive. When humans know, they have support. We feel safe enough to follow rules. But when we're alone and facing something impossible, a different part of our mind takes over. Counselor Thalves leaned forward. What kind of different part? Minji paused, choosing her words carefully. Have you ever heard the human saying, necessity is the mother of invention? Several aliens made sounds that meant no. It means that when we absolutely need something, we find a way to create it, Minji explained. When humans are desperate and alone, we don't just think harder. We think differently. Explain differently, demanded the Technari representative. Minji walked over to the holographic display and pulled up an image of a human brain. This is what happens in a human mind during extreme stress. Most species show decreased activity in creative areas when under pressure, but humans show increased activity. The brain image showed different areas lighting up in bright colors. When we're safe and have support, humans use the logical parts of our brains, Minji continued. We follow procedures, use proper methods, and make careful decisions. But when we're alone and facing death, the creative parts of our brain become more active. More active how? Asked the Zephyrian delegate. We start seeing connections that we missed before. We think of solutions that would never occur to us under normal circumstances. We become willing to try things that seem completely insane. A young Velkari scientist made a series of worried musical notes. This sounds like a mental breakdown. From your perspective, it might look like that, Minji admitted. But for humans, it's when we do our best work. Counselor Thalves dimmed to a thoughtful glow. Can you give us an example? Minji nodded and pulled up a file. Zone 14, 6 years ago. Do you remember the gravity storm? The chamber fell silent. Everyone remembered Zone 14. It was a region of space where gravity behaved like weather, creating storms that could crush ships or fling them across star systems. The Technari expedition spent months planning their approach, Minji said. They brought ships designed to resist gravity changes, equipment to predict the storms, and safety protocols for every possible situation. And they all died, the Technari representative said quietly. But then Seung-min went in alone, Minji continued. He was just a cargo pilot with a basic transport ship. No special equipment, no gravity shields, no storm prediction systems. How did he survive? Asked the Zephyrian delegate. He surfed the gravity storms, Minji said simply. The aliens stared at her in confusion. Seung-min realized that trying to fight the gravity changes was impossible, Minji explained. So instead, he started using them. He turned his ship into a surfboard and rode the gravity waves from one safe spot to another. That's insane, the Technari representative rumbled. Exactly, Minji agreed. It was completely insane. No sane person would try to surf gravity storms. But Seong-min wasn't thinking like a sane person. He was thinking like a desperate human, with no other options. And it worked, Counselor Thalves said slowly. Not only did it work, but Zone 14 is now safe for normal ships, Minji said. Seong-min mapped the gravity patterns and found stable paths through the storms. He turned an impossible zone into a shortcut that saves weeks of travel time. The Velkari scientist made a questioning sound. But why couldn't a supervised team discover this solution? Because a supervised team would never try something so dangerous, Minji explained. They would follow safety protocols, they would use proper equipment, they would do everything right, and they would fail. You're saying that doing things wrong is sometimes right? Asked the Zephyrian delegate. I'm saying that when normal solutions don't work, humans find abnormal solutions, Minji replied. And we can only find those abnormal solutions when we're desperate enough to try them. Counselor Thalves pulsed with rapid blue light, indicating deep thought. Dr. Minji, are you telling us that humans have evolved to be more capable when facing impossible situations? I think that's exactly what I'm telling you, Minji said. For thousands of years, humans faced impossible situations on our home planet. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, droughts, floods, predators. We survived by learning to think creatively when everything seemed hopeless. But other species faced challenges too, the Tecnari representative pointed out. Yes, but most species survived by becoming stronger or faster or by developing better technology, Minji said. Humans survived by becoming more creative. We learned to see possibilities where others saw only problems. The chamber was quiet as the aliens processed this information. Finally, the Zephyrian delegate spoke. Are you saying that humans are naturally suited for restricted zones? I'm saying that restricted zones are exactly the kind of impossible situation that humans evolved to handle, Minji replied. They're places where normal logic doesn't work, where proper procedures fail, and where only creative solutions succeed. And humans can only access this creativity when they're alone and desperate, Counselor Thalves said, understanding beginning to dawn in her voice. That's the key, Minji agreed. When humans have backup, we feel safe enough to be logical. When we're alone, we feel desperate enough to be creative. This is a very dangerous ability, the Tecnari representative said darkly. All useful abilities are dangerous, Minji replied. Fire can burn down your house or cook your food. The difference is in how you use it. And you believe Captain Dae-ho will use this ability to solve Zone 7? Asked Counselor Thalves. I believe that if anyone can solve Zone 7, it's a desperate human with no backup plan and no way out except forward, Minji said. The Velkari scientist made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. This explains so much about human behavior that we never understood. Like what? Asked the Zephyrian delegate. Why humans volunteer for dangerous missions? Why they take risks that seem pointless? Why they keep trying when any sensible species would give up? Minji smiled. We're not brave. We're just too stubborn to know when something is impossible. And that stubbornness, Counselor Thalves said slowly, might be exactly what the galaxy needs. The Galactic Council had prepared the most comprehensive test in their history. 2 identical artificial restricted zones had been created using advanced technology from 4 different species. Each zone contained the same deadly challenges: reality warping fields, hostile energy constructs, time distortion pockets, and adaptive AI defense systems that learned from each encounter. Counselor Thalvis watched the preparations from the observation deck, her crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. Are we certain these zones are truly identical? Verified 17 times, reported the Technari chief engineer, his rocky hide displaying technical readouts. Same energy signatures, same hazard patterns, same AI programming. If anything gives different results, it will be the teams, not the zones. Zone Alpha would be tackled by the finest multi-species expedition ever assembled. The team included 12 Velkari scientists with quantum analysis equipment, 8 Technari engineers with the most advanced protective technology, 6 Zephyrian navigators with reality mapping systems, and a full support fleet with emergency extraction capabilities. Zone Beta had 1 human. Taemin was 26 years old and had exactly 18 months of space exploration experience. He was not the most skilled human available, nor the most experienced. The Council had specifically requested someone average, someone without special training or exceptional abilities. This seems unfair, the Zephyrian fleet commander noted, her silver feathers rustling with concern. Taemin has basic equipment while Team Alpha has the best technology in the galaxy. Kiwan, monitoring from the human liaison station, shook his head. Remember, the data shows that better equipment doesn't help humans in these situations. It might actually make things worse. Taemin's ship was a standard exploration vessel with basic shields, simple navigation systems, and standard communication equipment. The only unusual thing about his mission was that his communication system would be turned off once he entered the zone. All teams ready, announced the mission coordinator. Team Alpha, you may begin your approach. Team Alpha moved with precision and confidence. Their formation was perfect, their equipment readings optimal, their communication clear and professional. The expedition leaders had spent weeks planning every aspect of the mission. Entering Zone Alpha, reported the Velkari team leader. All systems nominal. Beginning systematic analysis of outer perimeter. Meanwhile, Taemin sat in his pilot seat, eating a simple lunch and reading a book about ancient Earth poetry. He seemed completely relaxed, as if he were preparing for a routine cargo run instead of entering deadly unknown space. Team Beta, you are cleared for entry, the coordinator announced. Understood, Taemin replied calmly. See you on the other side. His communication system went dark as his ship crossed into Zone Beta. Team Alpha was making excellent progress. Their quantum scanners had mapped the reality distortion fields, their protective shields were holding against the energy constructs, and their navigation systems were successfully avoiding the time distortion pockets. This is going better than expected, the Technari engineer reported. Our equipment is performing perfectly. But then the zone began to adapt. The AI defense systems had been learning from Team Alpha's approach. Every scan they made, every shield, frequency they used, every navigation pattern they followed was being analyzed and countered. The zone started changing its behavior specifically to defeat their equipment. Energy construct approaching from Vector 7, the Zephyrian navigator warned. It's moving in a pattern our computers can't predict. Adjusting shield frequency, the Technari engineer responded. Wait, the frequency is shifting faster than we can adapt. Reality distortion is intensifying, reported the Velkari scientist. Our quantum scanners are giving contradictory readings. Team Alpha found themselves trapped in a deadly feedback loop. The more sophisticated their responses became, the more sophisticated the zone's countermeasures grew. Their advanced technology was being turned against them. We need emergency extraction, the team leader finally announced. The zone is adapting faster than we can respond. Meanwhile, nobody could see what was happening to Tae Min. His communication was down, and the zone blocked all scanning attempts. The observers could only wait and hope. Hours passed. Team Alpha was safely extracted after losing 2 ships to adaptive energy constructs. The multi-species expedition had failed completely, despite having the best equipment and most experienced crews in the galaxy. "Any word from Zone Beta?" Counselor Thalves asked anxiously. "Nothing," Kiwan replied. "Complete communication blackout." More hours passed. The aliens began to worry that they had sent a young human to his death just to prove a point. Then, without warning, Tae Min's ship emerged from Zone Beta. "Tae Min to control," his voice came through clearly. "Mission complete. Zone Beta is secure." The observation deck erupted in noise as various alien species expressed their shock in clicks, whistles, and rumbles. "Secure?" Thalves asked in disbelief. "What do you mean, secure?" "The zone is safe for normal ships now," Tae Min replied cheerfully. "I'll file a full report, but you might want to send a survey team to confirm." Within hours, survey teams had entered both zones. Zone Alpha remained. As dangerous as ever, its defenses now even more sophisticated after learning from Team Alpha's technology. But Zone Beta was completely peaceful, its hostile systems inactive, and its dangerous phenomena stable. "How?" the Technari engineer demanded when Tae Min returned to the station. "How did you defeat systems that destroyed our best equipment?" Tae Min shrugged, still seeming relaxed and casual. "I didn't defeat them. I made friends with them." "Made friends?" Counselor Thalves's blue light flickered rapidly. "With hostile AI constructs?" "They weren't really hostile," Tae Min explained. "They were scared. The zone had been alone for thousands of years, and when Team Alpha showed up with all their scanning equipment and weapons, the AI thought it was under attack." "So what did you do?" asked the Zephyrian fleet commander. "I turned off all my systems and just talked to them," Tae Min said simply. "My ship was so basic that the AI didn't see it as a threat. So I explained that we weren't trying to hurt anything, we just wanted to understand." "You talked to them," the Technari engineer repeated slowly. "For about 6 hours. They were really interesting once they realized I wasn't going to attack. They've been watching the galaxy develop for millennia, but nobody ever tried to just have a conversation." Kiwan leaned forward. "What about the reality distortions and time pockets?" "Those were just defense mechanisms," Tae Min said. "Once the AI trusted me, they turned them off. Turns out the whole zone was just a really elaborate security system protecting an ancient library." "A library?" Counselor Thalves asked. "Full of information about species that existed before any of us," Tae Min said excitedly. "The AI has been waiting for someone worthy to share it with. They said I passed the test." "What test?" asked the Velkari scientist. "The test of approaching without weapons, without trying to analyze everything, and without assuming they were hostile," Tae Min explained. "They said most species try to solve problems with force or technology. I just tried to solve them by being friendly." The observation deck fell silent as the aliens processed this information. "You're telling us," Counselor Thalves said slowly, "that you succeeded because you treated a dangerous zone like a potential friend instead of an enemy?" "Pretty much," Tae Min nodded. "Though I did teach them some human card games, too. They really enjoyed those." "Card games," the Technari engineer muttered in disbelief. "Humans," Kiwan said with a smile, "have a gift for finding simple solutions to impossible problems. And for making friends in the strangest places," Taemin added cheerfully. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen so many species gathered in one place. Representatives from 47 different civilizations filled the massive space, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, rumbles, and melodic tones. At the center of it all stood Junho, the newly appointed Human Zone Specialist. Counselor Thalves called for order, her blue crystalline form pulsing with official authority. The Council recognizes Junho of Earth, here to present the official Human Exception Protocol. Junho stepped forward, carrying a simple datapad instead of the elaborate presentation equipment that other species typically used. He was a middle-aged man with gentle eyes and graying hair, someone who looked more like a teacher than a space explorer. "Honored delegates," Junho began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. 3 months ago, Captain Daeho successfully neutralized Zone 7. Last month, Taemin converted Zone Beta from a deadly threat into a peaceful research station. These successes follow a pattern that we can no longer ignore. A Theknari delegate made a rumbling sound of skepticism. 2 successes do not make a pattern, human. Actually, we're up to 41 successes now, Junho replied calmly. Since the Council approved solo human missions, we've had a 96% success rate in restricted zones. The chamber filled with the sounds of surprised alien discussions. "Impossible," declared a Velkari scientist, her musical voice hitting notes of disbelief. "No species has that kind of success rate in restricted zones." Junho smiled. "You're right. No other species does. But humans aren't like other species." "Explain." "This again?" demanded the Zephyrian military commander, her silver feathers bristling with confusion. "How can removing safety measures improve survival rates?" "Because for humans, safety measures often prevent the kind of thinking we need to solve impossible problems," Junho explained. "When we know we have backup, we play it safe. When we know we're on our own, we get creative." Counselor Thalves leaned forward. "Tell us about Zone 7. Junho pulled up a holographic display showing the former danger zone. When Captain Daeho entered Zone 7, it was a swirling mass of temporal distortions that had destroyed every ship that approached it. The zone seemed to exist in multiple time periods simultaneously. "How did he solve it?" asked a young Velkari delegate. "He didn't solve it," Junho said. "He joined it." The aliens stared at him in confusion. Daeho realized that fighting the temporal distortions was impossible, Junho continued. So instead, he synchronized his ship's systems with the zone's time fluctuations. He essentially taught his ship to exist in multiple time periods at once. "That should have torn his ship apart," the Theknari delegate rumbled. "It should have," Junho agreed. "But it didn't, because Daeho wasn't trying to understand the science behind it. He was just trying to survive. He found a solution that no physicist would have thought possible." "And now Zone 7 is stable?" asked the Zephyrian commander. "More than stable," Junho said proudly. "It's become a time research facility. Scientists from 12 species are studying. Temporal mechanics there. Daeho's improvised solution opened up entirely new fields of research." A elderly Velkari counselor made a series of thoughtful musical notes. "What about the failures? You mentioned a 4% failure rate." Junho's expression became more serious. "We've lost 2 humans in the past 3 months, both in situations where they tried to maintain communication with base stations." "Why would communication cause failure?" asked the Theknari delegate. "Because when humans can call for help, part of their mind is always thinking about that option," Junho explained. It prevents the total commitment that these situations require. The humans who succeed are the ones who know they have no way out except forward. Counselor Thalves dimmed to a thoughtful glow. You're asking us to officially authorize humans to enter the most dangerous regions of space with no backup, no communication, and no safety net. That's exactly what I'm asking, Junho said firmly. The chamber erupted in various alien sounds of concern and debate. This goes against every principle of safe exploration, the Zephyrian commander protested. Safe exploration doesn't work on restricted zones, Junho replied. That's why they're restricted. But if something goes wrong, a Velkari scientist, worried, we can't help them. If something goes wrong in a restricted zone, you can't help them anyway, Junho pointed out. The difference is that our way actually works. A new voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. It was Su Jin, a 19-year-old human who had arrived that morning. Excuse me, but could I say something? The aliens turned to look at the young human with surprise. She was eating a sandwich and seemed completely relaxed despite being in the most formal setting in the galaxy. You are not authorized to speak in this assembly, the Theknari delegate rumbled. It's okay, Junho said. Quickly. Sujin is here about Zone 18. Zone 18? Counselor Thalves's light flickered with alarm. That zone has been quarantined for 15 years. Nothing that enters it ever comes out. Sujin finished her sandwich and wiped her hands on a napkin. Yeah, I heard about that. Sounds like fun. I'd like to go check it out. The chamber fell silent. Even the translation system seemed shocked into quiet. Child, the elderly Velkari counselor said gently, Zone 18 has consumed 17 ships and 400 crew members. It's considered the most dangerous zone in known space. Cool, Sujin said cheerfully. When can I leave? You want to enter Zone 18 alone? The Zephyrian commander asked in disbelief. Well, yeah, that's how this works, right? Sujin looked around the chamber with innocent curiosity. Dangerous zone, impossible problem, send one human with no backup. I read the reports. Junho couldn't help but smile. This is exactly what I'm talking about. No other species would volunteer for certain death with such enthusiasm. It's not certain death, Sujin protested. It's an interesting challenge. What makes you think you can succeed where everyone else has failed? Asked Counselor Thalves. Sujin shrugged. I don't know if I can succeed, but I won't know until I try, right? And if I don't try, we'll never know what's really in there. The Theknari delegate made a sound like grinding stone. This is madness. This is humanity, Junho said proudly. We see impossible problems as interesting puzzles. We see certain death as an adventure. We see restricted zones as places that just haven't met the right human yet. And you believe this approach will continue to work? Counselor Thalves asked. I believe that humans have been solving impossible problems for thousands of years, Junho replied. We didn't get to the stars by accepting that things were impossible. We got here by proving that impossible is just another word for difficult. The chamber was quiet as the aliens considered this. Finally, Counselor Thalves spoke. The Council will vote on the Human Exception Protocol. The vote was unanimous. From that day forward, humans would be the only species authorized to enter restricted zones without supervision, backup, or safety measures. As the session ended and the aliens filed out in various states of amazement and worry, Sujin approached. Junho, so when do I get to go to Zone 18? She asked eagerly. Next week, Junho said. Are you nervous? Sujin grinned. Nervous? This is going to be the best adventure ever. Watching from across the chamber, Counselor Thalves spoke quietly to her aide. I fear we have just unleashed something powerful and unpredictable on the galaxy. Humans? The aide asked. No, Thalvis replied, her blue light pulsing with what might have been admiration. Hope. As Su-Jin left the chamber, already planning her approach to the galaxy's most dangerous zone, Jun-Ho realized that the human exception protocol was more than just a new policy. It was the galaxy's acknowledgement that sometimes the impossible just needed someone crazy enough to try it, and humans, it seemed, had a monopoly on that particular kind of crazy.